Have you ever felt that there is an eye within you that sees far more than your physical sight could ever capture? An eye that doesn't open outward, but inward, peering into the hidden layers of reality, into the truth behind appearances. For millennia, mystics, sages, and spiritual seekers have spoken of this mysterious organ of perception. They called it the third eye. In the East, it is the Ajna chakra, the seat of intuition. In the West, esoteric schools hinted at it as the single eye that, if filled with light, floods the whole body with illumination. Ancient Egyptian carvings of the eye of Horus, Hindu deities with a jewel in the forehead, and even the pinecone motifs in Roman and Babylonian art all whispered the same message, that humanity once knew of a hidden faculty capable of perceiving the invisible. But what is this third eye, really? Is it simply a metaphor for intuition? A mystical gift granted to a few chosen adepts? Or is it something far more real, more tangible, an ancient biological and energetic system lying dormant in every human being waiting to be awakened? The truth is both stranger and more empowering than most imagine. The third eye is not just a poetic image, it is a bridge between the finite and the infinite, between the mind you use for daily life and the deeper intelligence that pulses beneath all creation. It is a key to perceiving the subtle energies that shape your thoughts, emotions, and even the events of your life. In this video, we'll journey into the heart of this mystery. We'll explore its roots in ancient traditions from Egypt to India to the secret schools of the West. We'll uncover how the third eye was trained, protected, and, over time, suppressed. We'll dive into the science that suggests it is more than symbolic, touching on the pineal gland and its role as a biological stargate. And most importantly, we will discuss how you can begin to awaken and refine your own inner vision safely and effectively. So prepare to look beyond the surface of the world you know, because once you see with the third eye, you can never unsee.
The concept of the third eye is not the property of any single culture. It is a thread woven through the spiritual tapestry of civilizations across time and geography. To understand it, we must walk through the corridors of history, where myth, philosophy, and science meet. In ancient India, the third eye is known as Ajna, the sixth chakra in the yogic system. Sanskrit texts describe it as the command center, the seat of higher wisdom and inner sight. In depictions of Lord Shiva, a vertical eye rests upon the forehead, representing the destruction of illusion and the direct perception of truth. Yogis taught that when Ajna is awakened, one gains viveka, the ability to see clearly what is real and what is not. In ancient Egypt, the symbol of the Eye of Horus, or woodjot, is perhaps the most direct parallel. Its stylized curves correspond strikingly to the anatomical structure of the human brain's midline, particularly the thalamus and pineal gland. Egyptians considered this eye a symbol of restoration, health, and protection, but also of insight that pierces beyond the veil of ordinary perception. In Taoist tradition, the third eye is called the heavenly eye, Tianmu, a point of focus during meditation where practitioners gather and refine their life force, qi, to open higher senses. Taoist adepts used breathing techniques, visualization, and internal alchemy to polish this inner lens until it could reflect the light of the cosmos. Western esotericism carries its own echoes of this truth. The Greek philosopher Plato wrote of the eye of the soul that can be trained to turn toward the light of truth, much like the freed prisoner in his allegory of the cave. The Christian mystic Jakob Boehme spoke of the inner eye as the faculty that beholds the divine presence within all things. Even indigenous cultures, from the shamans of Siberia to the medicine people of the Americas, share practices that awaken an inner vision. In their cosmology, the third eye is not an abstract idea, but an essential tool for navigating non-ordinary reality, communicating with spirits, and reading the signs of nature. Philosophically, the third eye represents the unity of dualities. Our two physical eyes perceive separation, left and right, light and shadow. The third eye perceives oneness. It sees patterns instead of fragments, the essence rather than the surface. This is why so many traditions place it at the center of the forehead, slightly above the brows. It is the balancing point, the seat of integration. Over time, however, the knowledge of the third eye was often hidden, guarded by initiatory schools. Why? Because to see beyond illusion is to question the foundations of power and control in society. A person who has awakened inner sight is far less likely to be manipulated, for they perceive the currents beneath appearances. Thus, what was once openly taught became the domain of secret orders, cloaked in symbolism and ritual. But the third eye has never been lost. It lives within each of us, quietly waiting, like an unopened letter from the divine. And to understand how it works, we must move from history into the living mechanics of this hidden faculty, a journey into the anatomy of consciousness itself.
The third eye is often spoken of as if it were a mystical ornament, an abstract symbol of intuition. But the truth is more layered. It is both a physical organ and an energetic center, working together like hardware and software to produce an entirely new level of perception. On the physical level, many traditions link the third eye with the pineal gland, a small pine cone-shaped structure located deep in the brain between the two hemispheres. René Descartes famously called it the seat of the soul, and while modern science has long dismissed that as philosophical speculation, recent studies have reignited interest. The pineal gland regulates melatonin, controlling sleep cycles, but it also contains light-sensitive cells similar to those in our eyes. It is, in a sense, a third eye, buried within. Energetically, in the chakra system, the third eye corresponds to the Ajna chakra. This is not physical tissue, but a subtle energy vortex that receives, processes, and transmits information beyond the reach of the five senses. The Ajna acts like a satellite dish tuned to higher frequencies, translating them into intuition, visions, and insights. Think of your ordinary eyes as cameras, capturing raw images. The third eye is the director in the editing room. It interprets, contextualizes, and sees the story behind the images. It perceives energy patterns, emotional undercurrents, and symbolic meaning. Where the physical eyes say, "A storm is coming," the third eye says, "This storm reflects a larger cycle, part of a change that has been building for months." The awakening of the third eye involves synchronizing the mind, body, and spirit into a state of receptive clarity. Certain conditions make it easier for this inner vision to open: deep stillness, coherent brainwave states, and a balanced nervous system. Ancient temples, meditation caves, and sacred geometry were all designed to induce these conditions, making third eye activation more natural. Here's an analogy. Imagine the third eye as a perfectly polished mirror hidden beneath layers of dust. Most people live their entire lives without knowing it's there. Spiritual practice, whether meditation, mantra, breathwork, or ritual, is the act of gently wiping away the dust.
The mirror doesn't have to be built, it's already within you. It simply has to be uncovered. One key misunderstanding is that opening the third eye is a sudden, dramatic event. In reality, for most, it's gradual, a sharpening of inner perception, like going from a blurry image to high definition. You begin to notice synchronicities, subtle shifts in people's energy, insights that arrive fully formed without logical reasoning. These are the early signs that the lens is clearing. But this process also comes with cautions. Just as a telescope can be misused without proper training, the third eye can overwhelm those who open it prematurely or without grounding. This is why ancient schools paired vision with wisdom, insisting that clarity of heart must match clarity of sight. In the second half of our explanation, we'll explore what happens when the third eye is fully activated, the deeper states of consciousness it unlocks, the abilities it refines, and the real reasons so many traditions sought to protect this knowledge.
When the third eye moves beyond subtle activation into full awakening, perception shifts in ways that can be both exhilarating and disorienting. The world you once thought was solid and fixed begins to reveal itself as a dynamic web of energy, symbols, and consciousness. At the deepest level, the third eye is not about seeing visions in a fantastical sense. It's about perceiving the truth behind appearances. Just as a microscope reveals a teeming world within a drop of water, the third eye reveals the interconnections, patterns, and forces beneath the surface of reality. One of the most profound experiences reported by mystics is the sense of unity consciousness. With ordinary vision, we see separation, me and you, here and there, now and later. With the third eye open, those boundaries blur. You begin to feel the living thread that links all beings, all events, all times. You don't just believe in oneness, you see it. This expanded vision often comes with heightened symbolic perception. Everyday events may suddenly feel like messages. A chance encounter, a phrase in a book, the flight path of a bird. Each carries meaning, as if the universe were speaking in a personal language tailored to your journey. This is why so many mystics talk about reading the book of life or seeing the code of the cosmos. Another facet is clairvoyance, not in the theatrical sense of predicting lottery numbers, but as an intuitive reading of situations, energies, and potentials. It's the ability to sense what is unfolding before it's visible, because you're perceiving the energetic blueprint behind events. However, awakening the third eye also exposes you to the shadow side of perception. Just as it reveals truth, it also strips away comforting illusions. You may see aspects of yourself, others, and the world that are uncomfortable. This is where ancient teachers emphasize the need for grounding, ethical integrity, and compassion. Without these, clear sight can turn into judgment, paranoia, or detachment from the very humanity you seek to understand. This is why, in initiatory traditions, third eye training was rarely isolated. It was paired with heart cultivation. The awakened eye without the awakened heart can become cold and analytical. The awakened heart without the awakened eye can become naive. Together, they create balanced wisdom. Another lesser-known aspect is the biological feedback loop between the pineal gland and spiritual practice. Certain states of meditation and breathwork stimulate the pineal gland to produce biochemicals. Some researchers speculate these include trace amounts of DMT, a naturally occurring compound linked to altered states of consciousness. This could explain the vivid inner visions and deep insight often reported in mystical experiences. But the ultimate purpose of the third eye is not entertainment, it is liberation. To see reality as it is, free from distortion,
is to dissolve the chains of ignorance. And once those chains dissolve, fear loses its grip, the mind becomes a servant rather than a master, and life itself becomes a living meditation. In the next part of our journey, we will bring these ancient insights into the modern day, exploring how you can begin to awaken your third eye safely, deepen your inner vision, and integrate it into your daily life without losing balance.
Awakening the third eye is not about forcing an instant opening, but about creating the right inner and outer conditions for it to unfold naturally. The ancients understood that a clear lens cannot form in a muddy stream. So before you focus on awakening the third eye, you must first purify the mind, balance the emotions, and stabilize your energy. Here is a step-by-step approach to begin. 1. Create a sacred space. Just as ancient temples amplified energy, you can set aside a small, uncluttered space for practice. It could be a corner with a cushion, a candle, and a meaningful symbol placed at eye level. This area becomes your inner vision station, a place your mind will associate with stillness and receptivity. 2. Master the art of stillness. The third eye thrives in a quiet mental environment. Begin with 10 to 15 minutes of daily meditation, focusing on the breath. As thoughts arise, let them pass like clouds, returning your awareness to the present. This calms the analytical mind, allowing subtler perceptions to emerge. Trataka, yogic gazing practice. Choose a small flame or symbol at eye level. Sit comfortably and gaze at it without blinking for as long as possible. Then close your eyes and observe the afterimage at the point between your eyebrows. This strengthens concentration and stimulates the Ajna chakra. Conscious breath work. The breath is the bridge between body and mind. Alternate nostril breathing, nadi sodhana, balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain, creating the neural harmony needed for inner vision. Just 5 minutes a day can sharpen intuitive clarity. Diet and decalcification. Some traditions believe that the pineal gland can become sluggish due to diet and toxins. While not all claims are scientifically proven, many find benefit in reducing processed foods, fluoride exposure, and heavy metals, while increasing fresh, mineral-rich plants and clean water. The visualization technique. Once you've built stillness and balance, visualize a small indigo light at the center of your forehead. With each inhale, see it grow brighter. With each exhale, feel it radiate through your mind. Over time, you may feel a subtle pressure or warmth here, an early sign of activation. Grounding practices. Every session should end with grounding, walking barefoot on the earth, stretching, or focusing on the soles of your feet. This prevents overstimulation and integrates the insights into your everyday life. Common challenges and how to overcome them. Over-expectation. The third eye rarely bursts open in a flash. Look for subtle changes. Sharper intuition, more vivid dreams, deeper empathy. Overwhelm. If you start feeling unbalanced or overly sensitive to energy, pause the activation practices and focus on grounding and heart-centered meditation. Attachment to phenomena. Visions and sensations are side effects, not the goal. The true measure of progress is clarity, peace, and wisdom in daily life. If practiced consistently and with respect, these steps create the same inner conditions ancient seekers cultivated. The more you align your mind, body, and spirit, the more the third eye will awaken, not as a sudden power, but as a lifelong companion that quietly, steadily reveals the deeper layers of reality. And once it opens, your perception of life will never be the same. You'll see not only the outer forms, but the living patterns that connect them, And that connection is where true wisdom is born. Across centuries and civilizations, the third eye has been revered as humanity's inner compass, a hidden sense that can pierce through illusion and reveal the living web of reality. It is not a gift reserved for saints and sages, but a birthright, quietly waiting in every one of us. We've explored its ancient roots in cultures from Egypt to India to the secretive mystery schools of the West. We've seen how it functions both as a physical organ, centered in the pineal gland, and as an energetic gateway in the Ajna chakra. We've seen that its awakening is not about spectacle, but about deepening perception, recognizing patterns, and aligning with truth. The real power of the third eye lies not in visions or supernatural feats, but in the clarity it brings. When the fog of distraction clears, when the inner lens is polished, life becomes a different experience. The people you meet, the choices you make, the challenges you face, all take on new meaning when viewed from the vantage point of expanded awareness. But with this gift comes responsibility. The third eye can illuminate both beauty and shadow. It can show you your highest potential and your deepest fears. The task is to meet both with courage, compassion, and humility. If there is one truth the ancients would want you to remember, it is this: the third eye is not about escaping the world. It is about seeing it as it truly is. When you look through it, you don't leave reality behind. You enter it fully, without the filters of fear and ignorance. So as you continue your journey, keep polishing the mirror of your inner sight. Practice stillness. Cultivate balance. Walk with an open heart. One day, perhaps without realizing it, you will notice that the world feels richer, more connected, more alive. And in that moment, you will know the hidden truth of the third eye was never hidden at all. It was with you, within you, from the beginning.